So where does nature versus nurture come into this? Because how susceptible an individual is to the pull of that proverbial drug in this case.
Oh yeah, I don't the fame itself as a drug is really interesting because something people have written about a lot. You know, the idea of fame junkies or fame is kind of an addictive process. Um, with most things like narcissism, what you're looking at with heritability estimates are somewhere 40 or 50%. You know, maybe it's a little higher with intelligence, maybe it's a little lower with attitudes, but somewhere in there. So a lot of how we're wired, really the majority or at least half of it seems to come from what we've inherited. And then the rest of it is, you know, maybe 10 or 20% we get from our parents. You know, that it's not as much as we think from parenting. And then the rest seems to be from just our culture, just what we pick up from our random lives. So early experiences. So you could imagine maybe you're sort of a wired for attention seeking, you're wired for dopamine, pretty happy go lucky person. You're young, you get a shot in a school play, and you know, you get some attention at age 10, and that really hits you, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is it, and that sticks in your mind, and then you start focusing your life to get that attention. Um, and maybe you had some trauma early on. Your dad was drinking. You had some issues. So you're like, well, I can't really get love. It doesn't come naturally from the inside, but I'm good at seeking it from the outside. So that external validation is something that you're comfortable with. And you could see how you would get shaped in a way to go out and seek external validation. And if you're a good person and you're rewarded for it, it could be, you know, kind of a healthy self-regulatory way of doing it. You could do it in a healthy way. But what could happen is if you're really lacking in self-love, you have trauma, you really need the external validation. Well, no one cares about psychologists anymore, Keith. We have AI and they're smarter than you. And I'm like, well, damn, how do I get attention? Well, maybe I'll start, you know, dressing up weird and doing dances in the street, or maybe I'll throw paint on some, you know, on David Hume's statue or something, or maybe I'll do something else to get attention, or maybe I'll say provocative stuff. So then I become, instead of the guy who was doing psychology, who's a pretty nice guy, I become the attention seeking kind of empty vampire who's always out there just trying to get his needs met. And instead of just saying, God, I wish my dad loved me more, and having a good cry, cup of ayahuasca or something, you know?
So for any parents listening, how much can they do beyond encouraging a morally sound value system, and how much do they just need to accept is down to the individual personality that comes with the lottery that is childbirth?
You know, I think in terms of being a parent, it's very hard. If you think I'm going to turn my kid into this kind of person or this kind of person, good luck. I mean, any parent who has two kids knows that I couldn't turn this one into this one or this one and this one. This one's an artist. They're a little crazy. They're a little adventurous. This one's neurotic. They're hardworking. This is what they're just different people.
What's the phrase? Is it child number one is parenting, child number two is surviving, or something like that?
That's mine. Yeah, what I've always heard is, you know, this is the psychologist. For your first parent, with your first parent, your first child, you believe in parenting. With your second child, you believe in genetics.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
That's how we say it. Because your first one, you're like, oh my God, I'm the greatest parent ever. And then it turns out you just got the lucky roll of the dice. And number two, setting the curtains on fire. And you're like, I'm doing the same thing. So it's very hard to change your kids. What you can do very effectively, if you're healthy, is you can love your kids and have them know that every day they are loved, so they don't have to go seek that from everyone else because they got that growing up. So they don't need to go get it from the internet or from somebody else because they have it. So you can love your kids. You can be a good role model for your kids. And, well, I usually say CPR, sort of encourage passion, responsibility, compassion, responsibility, but also encourage passion. So one thing, just doing what you love and being really passionate about it is just a really healthy way to live your life. You know, getting out, you know, where you are, getting out in the woods and hiking, or surfing on the coast of Scotland, or spay fishing. God, I'd love to spay fish in the River Spey one of these days. Bucket list. Doing stuff like that. where you're really passionate about what you're doing and engaged. It makes you feel good. It puts you into flow states. It's healthy, and it doesn't make you a jerk. Makes you kind of a better person. So encouraging passionate pursuits rather than getting attention from people, I think, can be a good thing for parents.
And CPR isn't specific to parents alone, is it? That can be a individualistic focus. So for anyone listening that thinks, maybe I'm a little bit more narcissistic than I thought I was before I started listening to this podcast, if you focused on compassion, passion, and responsibility, those are three real core tenets that can pretty much guide you in, as long as you're not massively misled on what those three things mean, then they will point you in the right direction, won't they?
I think so. It's pretty basic stuff. It's like, be kind to people, even though it hurts. Try to do stuff you love and don't worry about it, whatever that thing is, and really enjoy what you're doing and lose yourself in what you love. And then the responsibility taking is basically when you screw up, just saying, yeah, I own it.
Accountability.
Just own your own
really?
failures. Yeah. Accountability is a good word for it. It's like, hey, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. And with narcissism, it's hard to do that because you have to admit you're wrong. So you see people are narcissists like, how'd you screw up, Keith? I'm like, what do you mean it was your fault? It's everybody's fault but mine. It's that damn internet. It's the damn this. It's the damn that. When you go, yeah, I own it. It's all me. I'm going to do better next time. It hurts your ego in the short term, but it's super empowering because you're like, I can do what I want. So training yourself to kind of own failure and take responsibility, I think it can help you succeed, but also dampen narcissism.